hello there, and welcome to the cat, the government's dream. As you can tell, today we're going to be doing a little bit of a live stream on how we might actually think that the government might be slightly authoritarian in the UK now. Some people might have seen the video that I did earlier on today, which is fine. Some people might not have done, which is also fine. That's the reason why we've got the stories in there at this moment in time, so we can have you have a look at what we're talking about, and you can come on and have a listen with us and try and talk to us about what we're actually doing. So first of all, we have one other co-host with us today for whatever reasons. I'm not 100% sure. I know Ogre was about earlier on. So yes, we have Magic Bollocks with us today, which I am very, very grateful for.
Hello. How is everybody? Well, they didn't respond. They must all be dead.
Yep, it sounds about right, doesn't it? Before we get too far into the first story, because we haven't started yet, me and Magic Bollocks were talking beforehand, and as we, should we say, don't necessarily have a third guest, maybe it's a case of we need to ask somebody from the chat to come in. So if you are with me on Twitter or subscribe to me on Twitter, send me a Twitter message straight away. The first person who does gets to come on and have a chat with us about this authoritarian government that we're talking about. In the meantime, we will be talking about our first story, which is police can take days to respond to 99 calls, or 9999999 calls. You know what I mean.
And that's actually on the BBC, this story, which is interesting considering they're one of the greatest peddlers of bullshit these days.
It is, to be fair. It's actually very, very interesting that that's actually happening, and the fact that the BBC have actually done that. So, as you can see, we'll start off with the title. Police can take days to respond to 999 calls, says report. And you can also see there that Jeremy Corbyn sacked London.
Do you know what? That's exactly what I just clapped my eyes on. That's Owen Smith, the man who challenged him for the leadership as well, just in case everybody's forgotten. Bit of a funny coincidence. I noticed as well, Common Sense, that your last bit in your headline isn't in the headline of the BBC's. I should imagine it's probably buried in the story.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, don't know me.
No, I like your headline better. Much more eye-catching.
I thought it was a good little headline to get people talking about what we were talking about. So
yeah.
Oh, it seems like I might have had a message on Twitter, but I'm not going to actually have a look at that because I'm screen sharing because I'm a dick. So I'll look at that in a second. So some victims of domestic violence and other serious crimes have to wait days to be seen by police officers because 999 calls are not getting a prompt response a report has found. But yet people that make online abuse seem to get caught the next day. So what are they putting their efforts into, I wonder? Catching criminals or catching people that are abusive to people online? I wonder. Any thoughts on this?
I suspect that virtue signaling is considerably cheaper on resources than responding to an actual crime. What you'll mostly get these days is if you ring 999, the first thing they will do is consider it not important enough and tell you to redial 111. And then you'll get through to that department if it's even open. And all they will normally tell you is, we can't send anybody out, but we'll give you a crime number you can give to your insurers. So if you fancy a bit of burglary or just small-time shoplifting or any sort of petty crime with that, there's a very good chance these days, especially in cities, that you might get away with it, although you might have to black up first.
And don't smile afterwards.
And don't smile afterwards, yes.
You racist bastard.
Sorry, Dad.
Remember, we're not on the Wednesday channel now, you know.
I know, mate.
We should be having memes of destruction on very shortly, but before he does actually appear, I just wanted to basically allude to. Well, actually, I wanted to elaborate on what Magic was saying, and that is the fact that people that are necessarily actually, it takes a long time for rapes now to get sorted out, for the police officers to come and take a statement. It takes a long time for domestic violence, as we read on the actual story itself. It takes a long time in general for most crimes to even be followed up by the police now. To even go and collect CCTV can take up to 7 days. Now, some people will go, oh, yeah, but that's just collecting CCTV. Yeah, that stops everything from moving forward. If they do have a case against you, that means the case is taking longer, which means more money is being spent either holding you in a cell or for you to have an extra court case. It's just the wrong type of system to have. You get things done quickly, you get it over and done with, you carry on. And to keep on having a system that just keeps on pushing things back is just absolutely stupid. But then you can just say, oh, yeah, that's part of the system. But then they have the points of, if it's a hate speech just online, then you're going to get caught the next day after you post something online. Hello, that means. How you doing, sir? No worries. So, yeah, that's what I personally think about that. The fact that it's crap to have a slow process, but it's a case of that the process in itself is very quick for a specific crime, and the specific crime is hate speech at this moment in time, which seems to be reported at a very high level, and the crime rate seems to be going up pretty high. I wonder if that's the fact that they're not actually reporting on other crimes as much as they are on hate speech.
Yeah, it's the. I should imagine hate speech is great for the crime figures, isn't it? Because they don't necessarily categorize it with the headline figure, do they? Just say we've caught X amount of people, or then do they? The crime figures is interesting because is the crime figures actual convictions or just arrests? I wonder.
As far as I know, most crime figures normally start from reported crimes, and then it goes into subsections of arrested, prosecuted, and convicted.
Yeah, that's a little bit on the deceiving side, really, isn't it? To me, a crime, for me, crime statistics should be once the crime has technically been solved, because just arresting someone, you could just randomly arrest somebody on the street and let them go, and is that automatically classed as on the crime statistics? Because that's not really dealing with crime. That's just bringing somebody in for questioning and then letting them go without charge because you suddenly realize you either didn't have enough evidence or you suddenly realize they had the wrong person. That shouldn't be classed as a statistic. But as we know, Mr. Common Sense, our governments are very good at fudging facts and figures to suit an agenda, aren't they?
They are indeed. They're very good at fudging the facts on that side, especially the UK government. I don't know how memes would feel about the American government, so if he wanted to chime in with any sort of points, and he's more than welcome to.
Hey guys, what the heck is going on with your country?
We're dying. Help us. Give us that freedom of speech. Give us.
Yeah. How does it look? How is it all looking from your side of the pond?
Well, we're working our way kind of towards where you are right now with some legislation in California. What was it? You are not allowed to misgender an elderly person somewhere in California.
Oh, I remember that one. That was Wild Smile did that. It was a case of you couldn't misgender old people in an old people's home because if you did, you were going against their rights to be able to decide whether or not they wanted to be a particular gender, and you were going against them. So it was almost classed as not a federal offense, but a misdemeanor.
It's kind of like, I think, a crime against an elder. Like, to be fair, sometimes if you see an older person, it can be hard to identify if they're male or female. I mean, it happens. But if there was an issue, I hadn't heard about any cases surrounding it. I mean, it's not like they'd put this legislation in to kind of just establish some precedent and go from there. I mean, that would be dishonest.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while since I did a video on it. But I'm pretty sure that they slipped. Sorry, slipped that little bit of as legislation underneath the fact of changing the blood donation laws, the fact that people with HIV could donate blood, and it wouldn't be a criminal offense anymore.
I have no idea. I do it came around the same time where they turned it from a felony to a misdemeanor to knowingly infect another individual with HIV. It came right around the same time.
Yeah,
I
sure
couldn't
it's part of
speak.
the same legislation. I'm pretty sure about that.
Oh, it was probably in the same funding or round of Congress, because it's kind of like if somebody's like asking you questions. If they ask you a bunch of simple questions and you're like yes, 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 and all of a sudden something comes up, you're being conditioned to say yes.
Yeah.
If you're going through a bunch of legislation, and let's just say there was a bill that maybe, well, just say for common sense sake, 2,322 pages that came before your congregation, and folks voted on it without even reading it. I mean, I don't know. You're doing the people's work at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's. I'm pretty sure it was passed under the same legislation. I'm pretty sure it was passed by the same guy as well, Mr. Wiener, as far as I remember.
I believe Wiener is our former congressman who had a sexting issue, who then went to rehab, got better, ran for mayor, did it again, got disgraced again, started coming back, had a reality show, and then started sexting a 15-year-old girl again, and happened to do it on a laptop where his not quite fully exchanged wife, Huma, had some top secret emails.
Yeah. So I know the one you mean. Yeah. Huma's the one who has a very interesting past, which is nobody knows what she was doing before the age of about 21.
Well, she was probably interning for like the Clintons. I mean, what the hell did we do before? Oh, okay, let's not get into that.
Yeah, but yeah, he's the one who's got they had his laptop confiscated, and the CIA have apparently got all of the information. The FBI, sorry, got all the information of it, but are slightly reluctant to release it for some reason.
Well, we'll see, because that's a whole other interesting topic. But getting back to the UK on this one, my dudes, like now they're expelling like students from college and like university for being part of the wrong Discord servers.
Yep. I mean, I haven't been able to find that story, but I've heard murmurs around that on Twitter, but I haven't found an actual source of the story.
I linked some because what was it? Fox from the West. He did he moderated the Sargon and a couple other folks, their debate on like capitalism versus communism.
Yeah, I watched that one.
I think I threw it in one of the Discords over here, as well as I shared it to some folks on Twitter. For some reason, I don't think you were coming up, CSG. I apologize for that. Even though I have a message hole, and I'll share it with you right now. But I guess the names have been blurred out. But I guess somebody had reported that they were part of some group. So the university literally has suspended him until the end of the semester. And they basically, if he does not cease to be a member of those, they will inform the authorities. And he essentially right now needs to go through re-education.
Wow. Just that word. I'm sorry, bollocks.
Yeah, sorry. They're banning somebody from uni because he's a member of a Discord server.
Yes.
It's not even that bit.
No. He was a member of the wrong Discord server.
Yeah, right. It's not even that gets me. It's not even that gets me. It's the point that it doesn't matter if it was a Discord server, the wrong Discord server, or right-leaning, left-leaning, doesn't bother me. It was the word that you used at the end. He needs to be re-educated.
I don't think they use those exact terms, but I don't know. What is a 3,000-word essay about what you did wrong?
Yeah, I'd definitely say that it's a case of trying to show that you have been re-educated and you're sorry for your actions. I definitely agree with that. But that word, it's just so authoritarian. Tell me what you did wrong. Show me it. We need to show you the reasons why you're wrong.
So, common sense guy, let me take my initial statement and rephrase it. So how does it feel to be on Airbase 1 right now? What the heck's going on? Or Airstrip?
What do you mean?
Oh, I've 1984. Doesn't the UK become Air Base 1 or something like that?
Yeah, I never got that far.
Okay, I haven't read it either, so I'm just throwing shit out there. But it's very creepy, man. It is very creepy. It's just like this stuff keeps happening. It's just my great fear is just there's been so much repression for so long that, dude, we're already starting to shed blood here over in the States. And that fucking bothers me to no end. And to just see like where essentially the States initially came from, the initial colonies and stuff like that was primarily an English endeavor. And just seeing basically the patriarch of our country go down this road, dude, it makes me sad.
Yes. It's probably the last ditch attempt of a desperate establishment, knowing that the more the people are awakened by the new media, that the only way to suppress the I don't know, red pilling is the right word, but the awakening of more people than ever, they have to, I suppose, bring in more and more draconian laws to try and suppress it. I mean, it's mainly come about from 2 years ago because, you know, the two great events that went against the establishment, which was us voting to leave the EU and you lot electing Donald Trump. That's what I think a lot of this is coming from, is they've realized that they don't control the new media in the way they thought they did, and it scared the shit out of them.
I didn't actually make the connection until you just mentioned Brexit bullets, because I was speaking with a few folks a little bit earlier, and they had said, like I had actually brought up, and I apologize. I'm like, I do feel like the election of President Trump literally has provoked some of this reaction. Like, oh my God, look at the States. Oh, they're electing a fascist. And you know what? If those folks actually believe that, which I believe there are some folks that actually truly believe that, and if that's happening, yeah, you're going to be scared. You're going to react in a very probably overzealous way. And if you got other folks that may or may not have their own agenda, of course you're going to go with it because that's the way the wind is blowing. But the combination of, yes, the election of Donald Trump, along with Brexit, that's actually probably one of the bigger ones there, just because like that just threw everything up in the air. Like the plans are out the window right now, but it's a very interesting paradigm shift.
Well, in terms of Brexit, it wasn't necessarily the new media that caused it. I would say that was especially the working class of this country revolting because they've been ignored for so long. You know, they'd even voted in a supposed Labour Party back in 1997 to improve their lot, and instead Tony Blair's Labour's party ended up making things worse. They were completely signed up to neoliberalism. They opened the floodgates to mass immigration, and they were sucking on the corporate's teat. So they were no better than having a right-wing party and that didn't give a shit about them. So in the end, when this opportunity came up, the working class were going to grab it with both hands and say, no, we've fucking had enough of this shit. And this is our way of actually making you listen to us. Because at the moment, similar to what you lot have, we kind of have a two-party system where it doesn't matter which way you vote, you're only going to get one of these two parties. And for decades now, they've literally been a fag packet of difference between them. The only difference now is that the Labour Party's been taken over by the Trots and is veering dangerously to the far left. But I still wouldn't want them anywhere near power. In any way, I don't nearer than I want the actual Tories. It's just at the moment, it's the less shitter of two evils. And both of them are, as common sense has been pointing out, extremely authoritarian now.
No, that's it. And the thing. Go ahead, CSG.
I was going to say very, very, very much so. To the point of you've got Amber Rudd in herself, and I don't think that we're going to follow any sort of a structure. I mean, the stories are there. If we need them and we go into it, then we'll go into it. If not, the conversation is much better structured like this. But Amber Rudd has started off making an actual base type thing where she's going after people that are committing hate crime on the internet, saying that they need to generally go down on law and the full length of the law has to be pushed upon them. It's funny that in the law for hate speech, it states that the person doesn't have to commit an actual offense for it to be classified as hate speech, for it then to be an offense.
Wait, so there doesn't have to be a crime to be charged with a crime?
Correct.
Sort
It
of
states
like,
that, yeah.
so sort of like an individual being removed for university for clicking the wrong things on the internet.
Very much so. Very much so. It could even be to the point of somebody is crossing the road and, say, for instance, a car is revving at them, which is a real story. We've all talked about this before. And then claiming that the person who was driving the car who was revving at them was revving at them in a racially aggravated way. And then that being classified as a hate crime.
Oh, shit. I'm fucked, dude. I've done that just because my vehicle slipped out of gear.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, mate. I
so,
know.
so,
That's
so what?
the levels.
So we're just assuming the worst in people.
I don't think it's assuming the worst. I think this is being used as most authoritarian governments. I think this is being classified as anything that you say that is against us. Say, for instance, you're now bringing up the fact of Muslim rape gangs that are going around in the country and raping little girls. If you bring that up, you're now a racist and a bigot, and we're going to throw you away for hate speech.
Well, just use facts. If there are a bunch of folks that are from, like, just say this person is a member of a rape gang. Because to be fair, you could communicate the same thing. If you happen, I kind of hate doing this, but if you actually list their name, people will be able to make their own inferences.
Of course, no, I'm completely with you. It's just the fact that we, as a free society or perceived free society, shouldn't have to stem the words. And generalizations are generalizations. They are implied to say not all. So if you're saying that it is an Asian rape gang, and this is the actual media that's coming out and saying Asian rape gang, doesn't that imply that all Asians then are raping? And there's a lot of Asians and a lot of different forms of Asians. Is it better to say Muslim or is it better to say Asian? Does it really matter? They're just words. They're just characteristics of the person. Does it matter that much that you're going to get put in prison for it?
Well, words don't seem to matter anymore, but all at the same time, they seem to matter more than ever.
Oh, words seem to matter at a very, very high point and very high cost to liberty at this moment in time. Some people can get arrested for doing dog memes and things like that, where some people don't even get arrested for raping children.
Do you think that maybe it's because more than ever our establishment are scared of the truth? Because that's when an authority will start clamping down on free speech, because free speech allows the truth to be heard, doesn't it?
It does indeed. But I don't think it's a case of they're scared of the truth. I think it's more of a case of other people being proven of the truth. I think it's the fact of people being able to now prove that their ideologies are just not working. The idea of multiculturalism, the fact of bringing everybody in really quickly, just doesn't work. Bringing them in at a slower pace, yeah, it does work. You have a form of integration to go through and it works. Nobody would ever deny that.
Wait, so CSG, so what you're saying is a bunch of politicians that said something was a great idea don't want to have to say they were wrong.
Of course, and they're going to put people into prison for it because they now think that it's a better idea and a better solution to take people's liberty away than have the idea of actual liberty. And that's what scares and worries me.
Yeah, it's not like the last time we had a nation and we kind of oppressed them and made them basically kind of go to shit and the people kind of gave up. And then all of a sudden some charismatic dude came along, said all these things that they wanted to hear. And I mean, that obviously went well.
Yeah. Luckily enough, we defeated them last time, but it seems that we've started to adopt some of their ideas apparently, and that's kind of worrying. The point of I'm very, very surprised that they haven't decided that they're going to take some books away. You can't read this book because it's too right leaning. You can't have this report. Oh wait, no, they did that already. They've already stopped reporters coming in to report on different right wing activists. So yeah, they've already done that part of it, I suppose. So they're stopping free speech on that
CSG,
side, and now they're stopping comedians.
yeah, they were going to be problematic though, because they were going to go to Speaker's Corner, whereas the one place in the UK, as far as I know, that you can say anything. You can't have that now.
Supposedly, yeah. To the point when after Tommy Robinson delivered the speech for Martin Sellner, Speaker's Corner, the YouTube channel, which yes, they do have one, actually took it down, and they only recently got it back. Tommy Robinson only recently got that video put back up again.
Well, I'm sure that happens all the time.
No.
Wait,
No.
they probably had lots of videos taken down, CSG.
No, they have hardly any videos taken down. They very, very rarely take any videos down.
Well, that seems like a problem.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what's going on.
So
The fact that even now on the BBC and the Sky, for Sky News and news outlets, mainstream media outlets, they don't even seem to have counterbalancing points of view anymore. They don't seem to have any sort of form of debates. They don't have to have any sort of opposing views, or Labour's this and Conservatives want to do this. They don't have that anymore. It's always one particular view, and it goes with the person who has the show, the actual person on it. And it's scary that so many people just think that that's actual news when it's not. It's news making. It's propaganda.
Well, it's news entertainment. Well, some of it's entertaining, I suppose, but I mean that's what folks want. Folks always want something that they can follow a story along with, and if it just happens to go counter to the narrative, man, maybe you don't show that. But my question for you blokes are, how are you going to fix it?
That's the big question at the moment. I don't know what the answer is because, well, like I said before, we've got the problem of the two-party system, and neither of them are doing anything that I can see at the moment that's actually working for the people of this country. We'll either vote in hard Marxists like Corbyn's ilk, who will just end up bankrupting the country and turning it into another Venezuela, or we'll continue on with the Tories, who will get their version of Brexit, but will be one that will still be heavily tied to the EU with the intention of eventually getting us back in somehow, and carry on with the sort of whatever their globalist backers want them to do. There aren't many real conservatives in the Conservative Party anymore. There's no real patronism. There's no real sort of desire to do the best for the country. They're all simply either in it for ideological reasons or for lining their pockets.
So you guys are just like us.
So yeah, we're not a million miles away, really, are we?
Well, I would say that we are into a certain degree, but I would say that we have more ways of being able to actually sort this out. Simply because I don't agree with Magic that it's just a case of a two-party system. If you have a different party, for instance, you could use UKIP as a shining example. If they get a particular topic where the country completely and utterly believes in them, it doesn't matter what the party is, the people will follow it. That's the most important thing about democracy. But there are two ways that you can actually help and change in this democracy. One of them is to actually become an MP yourself and actually either go into Labour or go into Conservatives, whatever political group you identify more with, and change it from the inside as best as you can. The other is just become an independent MP and just run for your own points, and people will come to you with your same political ideas, and you can form your own party. There are ways of working it around. There are ways of actually forcing the issues with it, because people generally have the same ideas. They just generally follow more. So it's just a case of following and actually practicing what you preach, so to speak.
I think you hit the nail right on the head there, CSG. And as a wise spirit once said, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is for me. I mean, I've already said before that I will probably next year actually throw my hat into the ring, so to speak, of doing local elections and things like that. It'll either be this year or next year, but I will definitely be throwing my hat into the ring for my local MP and going forth and doing that for a bit and see if I can make a difference and make a change.
Dude, hell yeah. No, that's what folks need. And like that is basically kind of like the true transition from any type of whatever you want to call online activism, being a proponent of a particular issue or something like that. It's folks love to be on the internet and complain because it's fun being a keyboard warrior. It's fun launching the memes of destruction and everything. But I mean, as great as that is and everything, it gets catharsis out and everything. If you truly want to do something, you need to actually bring it to task. And what you're saying right now, as far as I'm concerned, is probably one of like the wisest and the truest ways. If something is broke, rather than just simply trying to burn it to the ground, actually work to fix it, dude. So, dude, I support you 100%.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would actually have to say on people that are politically interested in politics and do this as a pastime. For instance, certain people like R8 Bear.
Oh, no, I got you, man. No, that reminds me of something got brought up in New York City a few years ago. There was a guy, he was an older gentleman, and he happened to basically get caught on camera because he was saying, like, the rent's too goddamn high. So he literally started his own party called The Rent's Too Goddamn High. And it basically became a meme, and he actually ran against the mayor over there. He ended up losing, but he did bring up a very valid point, because as cities grow, and you can say gentrify, whatever you want, basically it's when folks with more money get in there and there's more and more demand for housing or whatever it is, of course prices are going to go up. So folks in that area that lived there previously, they are getting priced out. So I mean, he did bring up a valid point. I'm not sure he actually got anywhere, but folks did take notice.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I honestly really think. I really think that a lot of these English political YouTubers that do this, I mean, that's the great thing about trying to run as an MP. You can still do this as a part-time job because you're still being political. So you can still do this as a job if you make money from it. So you don't have to take time away from it too much, and you can still run as an MP.
No, that's very true. And it's interesting because a lot of times if you see more of the quote unquote establishment politicians out there and everything, when they try to start establishing an online presence, it's sometimes it kind of goes well. A lot of the time, man, they just bomb because they don't know how to like either do the whole internet thing, or they're just so scripted or basically just used to the standard. Okay, you're in the green room, you're going on in 15 minutes, you get your makeup, you get this. Because with the internet, there is definitely bonus points for coming off like a real human being, man.
Yes, a lot of politicians that I've seen, I mean, I don't use Twitter, but I obviously see the response from a lot of messages they put up and the amount of abuse they get from it, especially when they put something that is just plain virtue signaling. And I honestly don't know why they do it. Someone like Donald Trump, it makes sense because he wasn't a politician before, and he's realized that it's the best way to get his message out to the people of America and the world without the media filter being put on him. But if you're talking about regular, either congressmen or in our case, just regular MPs, backbench MPs, or annoying shitbags like Jess Phillips and her ilk, then it is just showing off. Look how virtuous I am. Look what I'm doing. And it just rubs people up the wrong way. The thing is, they've probably always been like this. It's just with the advent of social media, we now know exactly what they're thinking, because before we didn't. You might get a snippet of them in the local paper if they've done an interview or if they've been quoted as saying something, or you might see something on the news about them. But now you've got this access to them direct where they can leave you this message and you can suddenly, for the first time, see what they're doing on a daily basis. So it's a lot easier now to see if you really don't like a politician, or if you don't like people who work for the government or anybody in any form of the spotlight. I don't know if that's necessarily a good or a bad thing, but it has shown up a lot of people in the public eye for being people that you might have once thought were okay, but now know to be a complete and utter shitbag.
Well, can it work both ways too? Because you might get a guy, perhaps like Jordan Peterson, who comes out, oh, he's so against all this stuff. Oh, he hates transgender folks. And then you see like a couple thousand hours of videos of his where he's saying many logically, like scientifically based things. He's like, no, I don't have a problem with transgender people at all. If someone comes up to me and politely asks, that's fine. But as far as compelled speech goes, which he specifically states, and he's just being very honest in many of his videos, it's just when you get something like that, it's like, if you are actually a person that has somewhat of an established online presence, if the media does go at you, and yeah, they can pull up some things, but if you are generally a good person, I mean, I do think that's a plus and stuff. Like if somebody were to go through, oh, let's go at like Common Sense guys, let's go through all his history and stuff. It's pretty much everything you watch. He's talking common sense stuff, and it's just, okay, you're going to call him all these nasty names. It's like, well, no, he's not.
Yeah. It's quite sad to think that not all politicians are bad, and we're never saying that. We're not saying they're all corrupt. It's just the ones that, if they were given, the keys to the castle, that they would more than likely do a decent job and try and do the best thing they can for their constituents or for the people of the country.
Well, I was
going to say, one of the biggest problems, I think, with politics these days was when a lot of corporate money started finding its way into politics through, donations. And as you well know, with your last 2, 3, well, probably going right back to Bush Sr., where they were given millions and millions of dollars during their election campaigns with, of course, the solid promise that favors would be returned once they were put into office. And that's why you've ended up with certain dynasties like the Bushes and like the Clintons and